Hey, g'day, it's Matt here from Matt. So today I'm going to show you how to get to this point. So we're laying the foundations of carving a wood spirit. Now I've put in a nice profile there and some eye mounds. Got the nasal kind of things happening there and the start of the mustache. So I'm going to walk you through how to get to this point. And I've done it on a triangle piece of wood. You can also do it on a round. It's just going to mean you're going to probably take out a bit more wood than you would on the shape.
And we're only going to be using 3 burrs today, the sphere burr, the taper burr and the flame burr. Oh, also we're going to be using the Kutzall detail kit as well. Okay, so the first thing I always start with is the bridge of the nose, and really all you need to do is go down a fair way to get that bridge happening. As you can see here, I'm going just down with the Kutzall flame burr, and what you can do is, if later on you don't think it's far enough back, you can always take it further back, even if you've got the eyes in and all of that. It just means you're going to have to take the forehead back at the same time. So now what I'm doing is I am putting that angle in on the nose, and pretty much here, if you kind of put it on the side, then you can sort of see the angle and see if it's happening. If it appears too flat, just take that bridge of the nose down further. And once you're happy with the angle of the nose, what we got to do next is the forehead. So I just take that back. Now it depends on if you're going to add hair or not. If you're going to add hair, don't take it all the way up to the top like I am here. Yeah, it all depends, but we're just putting in the basics today, so I'm just taking that back. I tend to make it flat because just above the nose your forehead is reasonably flat there, but like later on you would probably curve it around to follow the line of the skull. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to put the nose in, so we want to put a center line in there. And that gives us kind of a reference. Probably the bottom of the nose is going to be about there. Now it's better to make your nose too big as opposed to small here, because as with any kind of carving, as you're always taking wood away, so if you make it too small, it's very hard to add little bits in. So I'm still using the Kutzall flame burr, and I'm just taking back the sides. So it's kind of like flat there, just starting off on the nose. Now when you start on the nose, you go through a lot of kind of stages where the nose starts to stick out more and more and more. So essentially what I'm doing there is not what the shape of the cheeks are going to be like in the end. Now what I do next is I usually start to put in the the eyes, I guess you would say, and if you're not kind of carve eyes, you can just go quite deep there, but just sort of take your time with it. I usually put in eye mounds even if I'm going to carve a no eye wood spirit. Now it looks kind of odd there. Don't worry about your carving looking odd at the start. It's just going to look strange until things come together kind of at the end. So we're going to take off the flame burr and we're going to put on the sphere burr here. So the good thing about the sphere burr is you can kind of go in and on any angle and it's kind of going to be hitting the wood the same way. Whereas if you've got the flame burr in, it really changes the shape of how you carve, because the point's going to be going in different directions. So really we're starting to put in the eyebrows there. I just sort of like pencil them in with the Kutzall there and do that on the other side. And we'll kind of reduce that the size of them as we go along. Really you're kind of like putting things in a little bit larger than what they are and then reducing the size of them. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to work out where to get the eyes kind of the similar shape on each side. And now I'm going to be taking down the nose on each side a little bit. Okay, so we've got our center line on the nose. Now what I do is I kind of draw kind of like two little narrow sort of lines that follow that center line back, and that's kind of like the top of the nose, and then we will have the nasal bit sort of coming out the side like that. You can sort of see it on this wood spirit here. You've sort of got that kind of flat area going down there, and then the nasal bit coming off there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the taper burr now, and I kind of form a channel going down the nose and up to that line. So what you're trying to do is get that nasal flare a little bit back from that middle bit there. So you can sort of see it there, how I've done that. And I'll do that on the other side as well. Now it is back to the sphere burr, and you can sort of see here I'm taking that part of the channel away, but I won't go all the way down because that's where that kind of nasal neck happens. And I quite like this kind of action where I go under the eye. It's just quite a nice kind of like thing to do. It kind of starts forming the cheek as well. Okay, so if we have a look at this wood spirit here, you can sort of see the eye, that's what we're looking at here, is kind of quite on a flat plane, and you might have to work at that a little bit and take the eye further back in. Now I've put on the taper burr again, and I'll probably push in there and then sort of like form a kind of, this is not going to be the final eye shape. I just kind of form a big kind of oval. It's really about leaving enough wood for you to carve later on. So what you're trying to do is get it kind of flat on there, and do the same with the other side. And when I say flat on the eye, I don't mean the eye is flat, I just mean the plane that the eye sits on is relatively flat and not sloping away from the nose backwards. You can sort of see it there, it's starting to form. So we've got those kind of like round mounds going outwards as well, but they're sitting on a flat plane. Now, I'm not even too worried about how the eye mounds look at the moment, just as long as they're there. I won't worry about evening them out too much. Now we can sort of start looking at those kind of nasal flares or nears or whatever you want to call them. So I'm just going in with the taper burr. I always find what I think about when I'm carving these kind of things, just sketching them in, I'm thinking I am doing them too big, but they're going to be refined later on. And it's probably different from a lot of other carvers. I go straight across the bottom of the nose. I know a lot of people angle up on each side, and that's fine if you want to do that as well. But I always find the tip of the nose, when you do that, is quite pointy, and I quite like in my kind of style of carving that the end of the nose is quite round, and I just find it a little bit easier to do that. And I tend to angle it up the nasal flares as I move on through the carving. So I'm still angling them up, I'm not doing it at the beginning, I'm giving myself that space to make decisions a little bit later on. So you can sort of see me there, I'm just sort of sketching it in. I'm not going really deep or anything like that, I'm just sort of like looking at it, trying to get the both sides quite even on those nasal nears. Now I might look at doing the tip of the nose, just rounding it towards the bottom there. I might take this opportunity to see the side and see if the profile is looking pretty good, if the angle of the nose needs to be taken back a little bit further. Yeah, I tend to be a very slow carver. I don't go fast. I kind of look at things and try and make decisions based on what I'm seeing. And what I'm doing here is two nice lines. They're kind of the bottom of the cheek and the top of the mustache. And you just need to pencil those in at the moment. And what that does as well is it kind of like pushes that bit in by the nasal cavity there, and so you're going to be pushing the nasal cavity into, well, not the nasal cavity, the nasal near or flare or whatever you want to call it, back into that line. Just kind of like working on the cheek, and then I kind of like round the cheek down into that line going there as well, so you can sort of start seeing the cheeks starting to form there. You got to remember what we're doing in this carving is we're just making the foundations for a wood spirit. And if you're enjoying the video, if you could hit that like, that would be awesome. I do have a membership as well. It's pretty cheap. It's like $2 American a month, and I have quite a few videos on that. So you can check it out for a month. You could binge watch the whole lot in a month if you wanted to. But I do keep on adding them. Check it out if you want. But there's still plenty of good stuff on the main channel for you to check out. So have a look back at the old stuff as well. There's plenty there. So what are we up to here? We'll get back to this carving. So as you can see, I've got that sphere burr on again, and I'm just going over the nose and sort of into the cheek and starting to round off the nose, take away that kind of square look. And I'm always looking at the profile. You can just sort of go down that little bit there. I try to keep the center line untouched. You can sort of see I'm just trying to round the bottom of the nose as well. Really, it's just going over lightly, maybe taking out a few sharp bits, readjusting things. Okay, so let's put in just a little bit of a shape of a beard or mustache in there, and so we can sort of get at the nose a little bit easier as well. I'll just take that bottom back a little bit, and we'll put on the flame burr, just get rid of quite a bit of wood there. So don't go back too far under the nose. You got to remember the beard sort of comes out a little bit. Just go a little bit back, and sort of round it off a little bit, and then we can sort of maybe put in where the sort of bottom of the mustache is going to be. I'll just round it off a little bit there, getting ahead of myself there. You got to remember that nose is still going to be going back a little bit further. You can sort of see on the left hand side it looks like it's back further than what it is there. That's because the cheeks are kind of pushed back a little bit further as well. Okay, so we're going to go in with the Dremel Detail Sphere Burr, and I was just showing you a comparison between the normal sphere burr and how big this sphere burr is. If you haven't got this kit, really nice to have. I believe it's just before Christmas on 2025. I believe Kutzall may be still having a sale while you're watching this. If you're watching it in that time period, if it's after that, you can still get 5% off on with my affiliate link. But if you use the affiliate link in either case, you're going to get some percentage off anyway. So we're just sort of smoothing things out, sort of like leveling them up, and these little tiny detail burrs are really nice for that. They can get into little cavities like that. I always find a sphere burr really nice for kind of shaping, general shaping, because you know what you're going to get. Whereas I think I said this before, if you're using a pointed burr, the point is going to hit in different aspects and in different angles, whereas a sphere is always going to sit on the wood in a very similar way. And because we've got that small sphere burr on, we can maybe concentrate a little bit more on those nasal flares, and maybe just a little bit on the under part of the nose as well. Maybe having a look at going sort of like on that angle that most people put in at the beginning, so I can sort of like judge it here and sort of just taking it back a little bit. kind of comes around like that. Look at it from the side. And in the future on this carving, that sharp edge kind of like at that sort of juncture there will be sort of softened as well. Sort of like that. Okay, so we're sharpening up some of those lines as well. I'm using the pointed sort of cylinder burr from the detail kit there. And I believe Kutzall has actually brought out a silver version of this as well, so check those out in the links in the description. They are affiliate links. It just means you kind of help the channel out and still get some percentage off as well. And that pointy little burr is great for little things like this, is finding up those lines, and also using the side of it just to sort of like smooth off that nasal near. We are coming up to the end here, but I want to frame the face as well so we can kind of just get a little bit of an understanding for the next stage that I will cover in the next video. So what I will do, first of all, what I'll do is I'll put the mustache in, and I'll just, let's have a long one. No, you can actually always change your mind, and maybe you want a short one, so scrap that. Let's go for one of those short little mustaches, and just put that up there, and there you go, that's a short mustache. Do whatever you kind of want to in the mustaches. And then we will just block it out a little bit, and don't go back too far because you kind of want the beard to have a little bit of volume as well, but you kind of need a little bit of a undercut under that mustache to start off with anyway. Just sort of like rough it out, don't be too worried about it. So we might leave the beard for the next video, but what I want to do next is I'm going to just show you sort of like the frame of the face that I usually put in. And so I usually go down just behind the eye about there, and go down, and then from about there I'll go up on an angle, and so you can sort of see that really forms a nice kind of cheek there, and that we will shape in the next video. I'll just take that little bit underneath there out. Okay, so I feel like one of the most important things about carving wood spirits is having a good foundation and good profile, with a good amount of like eye mounds to put details in and all of that kind of stuff. And that's what we kind of got going for today. In the next video I will show you how to put details in and shape up that face a little bit more. Okay, we'll see you in the next video. Bye everybody.